Kilograms and grams are the unit of measurement of mass, how much stuff is inside of something, while weight is really talking about the force of gravity pulling down on something, and scales use the force of gravity to guess what the mass of something is. Because gravity is uniform across the Earth by and large, we can get a decent guess of the mass of an object on Earth. However, if we were to go somewhere where gravity, the force of gravity had a different power to it, then we would get different readings on our scales, and they wouldn't reflect the mass of the object on top of them. Okay, we're going to talk about more than, less than, and equal to when we're comparing grams and kilograms. Now, the first thing that we really need to know and remember is how many grams are in a kilogram. So, 1,000 grams is equal to 1 kilogram. 1,000 grams is equal to 1 kilogram. Knowing this, we can also know how much 2 kilograms is equal to, since that's just a simple doubling. So if I've doubled on this side from 1 kilogram to 2 kilograms, I double on this side, 1,000 grams is the same as, 1,000 grams is the same as a kilogram, 2,000 grams is the same as 2 kilograms, and so on and so forth. 3,000 grams is 3 kilograms, 4,000 grams is 4 kilograms, etc, 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 and it goes on and on and on. So that's going to be the most important thing to remember, especially when you're comparing grams and kilograms for your activity. Do not forget it, very important. When we're talking about more than, less than, and equal to, we're looking at 2 symbols. Some people seem to think it's 3 symbols, but really it is 2. One of them just moves around a bit. So for more than and less than, we're looking at this symbol, which can look that way, or it could look that way. And then we are very familiar with the equals symbol, because we use it a lot. A common misconception about equals is that, and I talk about this all the time at school, common misconception about the equal symbol is that it goes at the end of a number sentence and it means the answer is. That is not what the equals symbol means. The equals symbol means whatever is on this side and whatever is on this side are the same. So really, we should read that as 1,000 grams is the same as 1 kilogram. 2 kilograms is the same as 2,000 grams. That is what that symbol means. The two things are equal, they are the same. So that's why you'll often see me using it as well with words. So you could say that happy is equal to, is the same as cheerful. Often forgotten, good to remember. For the other symbol that we're looking at here, the more than and less than symbol really is one symbol looking 2 different ways. We always remember it, and I always remember it, as the crocodile eats the bigger fish. Crocodile because the symbol itself kind of looks like a crocodile's mouth. If I added some teeth to it, you could easily imagine that was a little crocodile. And also because it helps you to remember that the mouth of the crocodile is going to eat the bigger fish, so it's always going to be open towards a bigger number. So for example, 3 and 2, the crocodile is going to eat 3 because that is the bigger number. That means 3 is greater than, 3 is more than 2. Of course, if the numbers were the other way around, so if we had 2 and 3, the crocodile would be facing the other way, and we would have the symbol that way. So, good thing to recap, just to remember the crocodile eats the bigger fish. More than and less than symbols, there's really one symbol, it just changes depending on which number is bigger, the one on the left or the one on the right. Those are the things you're going to need to know to answer the questions. You're going to need to know how many grams are in a kilogram, and which symbols to use and when. Okay, we're going to look at some practical examples. So let's move on to that. Okay, so very quickly, I shall just jot up at the top those things I need to remember. I need to remember 1,000 grams is equal to 1 kilogram, and I need to remember more than, less than, and equal to, and thinking about my crocodile, I might even draw him in. My advice is always, when you're working with converting masses, comparing masses, or more than, less than, equal to, jot the little note up. It's always helpful. If we're working with length and we're looking at centimetres, millimetres, I always jot up by the side, yes, 10 millimetres is 1 centimetre. So we've got a range of masses here, grams and kilograms, a nice mixture. And I'm just going to draw myself a line down here. Ooh, that's a terrible line. That's not much better. That will do. And this is going to be the biggest, or the heaviest, I suppose it should be, because we're talking about mass. And this one is going to be the opposite, so that's going to be the lightest. And I'm going to try and order these measurements using that knowledge of how many grams are in a kilogram. Okay, so reading across then, I've got 15 kilograms, 2 kilograms, 1,500 grams, 15 grams, and 2,050 grams. The easiest thing to do is to try and change it all to one unit of measurement. And for you guys, it's going to be easier to change. Keep grams the same and think about the kilograms in terms of grams. So if I was to think about all of these in grams, I would have 1,500 grams, I'd have 15 grams, I'd have 2,050 grams, and then I've got these two to think about. Now you don't have to do anything fantastically difficult or complex here. You don't have to work out every single answer to a fine detail, but 2 kilograms, I already know if 1,000 grams is 1 kilogram, 2 kilograms must be 2,000 grams. And that's a quick mental calculation, a quick mental check against those facts. If I'm then looking at 15 kilograms, I know that that's got to get a lot bigger, and it's going to be bigger than 2 kilograms when I change it to grams. So I'm not actually going to work out the exact number, I just know that 15 kilograms is definitely bigger than 2,000 grams, bigger than 2 kilograms, so it's probably going to be up towards the heaviest end here. Again, I don't really need to convert it entirely into grams because that's not what we're focusing on, but it's using that quick mental ability to recognise, oh yeah, it's going to be a lot more than 2,000 grams because 15 is a lot more than 2. Okay, so if I was then to organise them, I would know that I'm going to look for 2-digit numbers first. So I've got a 2-digit number here because all 2-digit numbers are going to be smaller than anything else, and the rest of my numbers, now that I'm thinking in grams, are they've got a lot more digits. So 15 grams has to be my lightest one. After that, I've got a couple in the thousands, so I've got 1,500, 2,050, and 2,000. Well, that's 1 in the thousands, and there's 2 in the thousands for the others. So that one has to be the next one, so that's going to be 1,500 grams. I've then got 2,000 grams and 2,050 grams. Well, the only difference between them is this one has nothing in the tens, and this number has 5 in the tens. 5 is greater than 0, so the next number has to be 2,000 grams. That's a smaller number than 2,050. I then have to have a look. I've got 2,050 and 15 kilograms. Sorry, 2,050 grams and 15 kilograms. And I said before that 15 kilograms had to be a lot bigger than 2,000 grams. 2,050 grams is not a lot bigger than 2,000 grams. So I would argue, or I would make the connection that 2,050 grams had to be next, and then 15 kilograms would have to be the heaviest. In this example then, I have arranged grams and kilograms by using that mental fact, that mental knowledge of what 1,000 grams is in kilograms, and then changing in my head, not having to do it on paper, but changing in my head between those two things. It might help you to make notes like I did, 1,000 grams is a kilogram. It might even help you to make a longer list. You could go to 2,000 grams and do what that one is, and 3,000 grams, and so on. It might help you just to make a list all the way up to 10 kilograms. I wouldn't go much further than that. If I'm right in remembering your tasks today, some of them, you shouldn't have a lot of unobvious ones. For example, you might be comparing 15 grams and 15 kilograms, and that one should be fairly obvious to you, because 15 grams, I know that I have to have 1,000 grams to even make 1 kilogram, so 15 kilograms has to be a lot bigger. On the spicy challenge, you've got some addition and subtraction to do first, and I'll just show you what that would be like. So you might have something like 823 grams, take away 200 grams with your box. Is it more, less than, or equal to 534 grams? Add, let's say, 220 grams. So in this case, you've just got to work out both sides before you can compare them. So 823 take away 200 would be 623 grams. 534 add 220 would be 754 grams. And then that allows me to compare them, and it's fairly obvious because looking at the hundreds, I can see that that's got the greater 100 on this side. So yeah, it's just a couple of extra steps there to try and trip some of you up and keep you thinking before you put in your more than, less than, or equal symbol in the middle of the box.